truth, bad beams are gonna blind me, but I won't feel blue like I always do, 'cause somewhere in the crowd there's you.
I'll tell you what's happening. I'm sure you already know. Mercury is in retrograde. Yes, that's I know. It's been like really crazy. But you know, I don't. Here's the thing. I have to move pretty quickly today because yeah. So I'm not going to really give a lesson. But this is something that I do think it's really interesting because I was thinking about Mercury in retrograde, and I never knew this, considering I've been meditating for a long time. That the Vedic name for Mercury is Buddha, which is so interesting. So amazing to me that our association with Mercury in retrograde is what? Chaos, miscommunication, spinning forward, like out, not being in the moment. And yet the actual Vedic words, so the ancient scripted, the Vedic sciences talk about what it really is about becoming present, becoming mindful. And I actually had I realized like once I found that out, and then I like had a full circle moment. The other day, this was a couple days ago, I was walking from the office to here, and I heard a woman talking to her son, I think it was, or he was a teenager. They weren't actors, he was a high schooler, I think. And the only piece of information I got, the only part that I was interloping on, so think about this. I had to be at that place, at that exact time, so it's all divinely orchestrated. If you're available to it, what you pick up is what you need to get. But at the time, it didn't really like strike me as anything like uncanny and wild and weird and beautiful and synchronous. But all I heard her say was present moment. That's all I heard of an entire conversation. They were standing outside there talking. I walked by and I heard those two words. And then I thought about, well, this whole thing about Mercury in retrograde isn't it interesting because since it rules the house of communication, what it often does to us is we spiral, well, human beings do that anyway, we spiral and move fast forward in our minds to what's coming later, what's coming down the road, what's coming tomorrow. Storm watch, the big storm's coming, right? As opposed to, how do we just keep practicing mindfulness? Coming back to right now. And last night, something happened in the work that I thought was a great reminder where this woman was doing, she was so amazing, but she was really battling with, she would step out of the moment and then she would get in her head about being out of the moment. And then so, of course, she judged herself as being like, you know, not good. And there's nothing not good about her work. It also just kind of shows you that there's so much technique working. So even when you're in your head and you feel like it's dry or it's cold or it's not working or, you know, you're not as maybe free as you can be, that's technique still working for you. But the interesting thing is, I said to her, I've never said it this way before, the beautiful thing about, once you're out of the moment, the realization that you're out of the moment is the gift, because then you become present. And so it's almost like grace, that we've been born into this existence and we're constantly, our ass is always covered. So even when you're out of the moment, we've been given grace to realize we're not here and we can come back to here. And then the other thing is when we check out, when we go someplace, that also in of itself isn't a bad thing. It is not a terrible, catastrophic, world-ending scenario. It's just a gentle reminder to come back and become more present. So the goal is always, can we just try to move through our lives just moment to moment? Not speed fast forward to tomorrow, not create doom and gloom scenarios. Oh my God, pilot season is a disaster. Okay, pilot season isn't over yet. Day by day, moment to moment. See what I'm saying? And then you begin to harness that energy and you create that focus and that awareness in the work, that mindfulness in the work. And then you try to take that out into the world. And then you try to keep bringing that into your work. And then you take that out into the world. You know, I want to say one other thing that I think is interesting about that, because last night somebody asked me about technique, and it always drives me nuts. And when I was in London, I thought it was so interesting because one of our teachers in London said, will there ever come a point in time in our lives when people will stop talking? Why do we have to define things? What method do you do? I do this method. You do la-ba-da-ba-da-ba method. I do that method. Oh, that method works for me, but that method does not. And I think the interesting thing is It's so fascinating. I think as human beings, we constantly try to define and label things that are not reductive to be defined or labeled. When you go to set and work with Meryl Streep, Tamara, you're not going to be, oh, Meryl, I work on the technique. What technique do you do? You and another human being in the moment are trying to figure shit out. That's it. You're just trying to figure out, how do I get more available? How can I make this work? Oh my God, Meryl, working with you is really scary because you're like Meryl Streep and you're so intimidating. I just have to share that with you. That's technique. Being honest is technique. Coming to the table with all of your shit is technique. Now, yes, technique is driven by becoming emotionally available and becoming aware of the things that you're doing that keep you from being emotionally available. That's technique, but that's all it is. So instead of getting invested in the name of something, just get invested in you giving yourself the permission to be more human. That's it. That's technique. Just be more human. And then that comes right back to full circleness of you become more human by being saturated in the moment. Because when you're in the moment, then you're free from all the things you tell yourselves from a critical, hypercritical, judgmental place that isn't correct, it's wrong, people are judging you, it looks weird, what will they think? When you're fully saturated in the moment, you don't care because you're in expression. That's what the moment frees you to. So can we just try to keep doing that? It's quite revolutionary. But all the world is doing it now. That's what gets me so excited. All the world, everybody from Obama talking about presence to a woman out here on the street to Oprah Winfrey to Dr. Oz. Everybody's talking about presence, the moment, authenticity, being here now. Oh, what are you reading? I'm reading Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. Oh, what are you reading? I'm reading Super Soul Sunday. What are you doing? Everybody's talking about it. Well, it's great that it's finally caught up with us. Practical aesthetics to get more present, for sure. All right, it's exciting. Yes, it is very exciting.
Like I always do, 'cause somewhere in the crowd there